Okay, hey, during this meeting, we're going to cover a bunch of stuff about the ministry year and say a bunch of things about ministry teams. And one of the people for one of those teams needs to leave right away. So we've asked him to come up first. So we're going to jump right into it because Jay Youngflesh wants to talk for a second about the security team. So Jay, come on up here. We thought it would be a good idea as we, as a staff, sort of figured out the calendar for the year to say something by way of introduction and hopefully get your attention. So much so that you see on the back side of this whole packet, you see what it says there at the top? Based on what I learned today, I will add these dates to my calendar. That's pretty small for the older people, but that's what it says. Add these dates to my calendar. Contact the following people. So maybe even already you're like, man, security team, I got to contact Jay Youngflesh. And where can you find contact information? Not only in the directory, which Cheyenne will talk about later, but on that inside of the front cover, the first page there is a list of contact information for your various people. So as we go through, not only can you note who I need to contact, but then you'll have some information about how to contact them. So that's part of what we want to do. And we also just want to lay out, some of the themes and some of the stuff that's happening. So let me dig into it a little bit. Part of our theme for this year is going to be horticultural in nature. We experimented with maybe having some bylines around this. We haven't done that yet, but it is going to guide our theme for this upcoming year: rooted, growing, sharing. So what do we mean by that? We mean, we want to be a community that is rooted in certain really profound eternal truths. First of all, Christ himself. Second of all, grace. Third of all, God's word. And then, as a sort of corollary to it, we're also rooted in some other things. One thing called the Reformed tradition. We're also rooted in the whole Christian tradition. We're also rooted in a location. Coming up in 2024, it will be our 75th anniversary. So there's a front, on the front of the building, there's a stone that says 1951. That's when the building was built. But the first people who became a part of this church started gathering in 1949. So in 2024, we'll come up on our 75th anniversary. And way back when this property was bought, almost 75 years ago, this was on the edge of town, but now it's like the center of town, and there are all sorts of good things that are rooted right here, and we feel good about being rooted here. All of the efforts to actually be away from this spot have been thwarted by God. Right? Paul tries to go different places. The Holy Spirit says no. We've taken that as a cue. We're supposed to be rooted here in this place, doing things on behalf of the kingdom. So not only for Faith Reformed Church, but all the other ministries that we host in this place and space, whether that be Love Thy Neighbor, Keys to Freedom, et cetera, et cetera. So we're rooted in Christ, grace, the triune God, the Reformed tradition in this space. So we want to emphasize a little bit of that, and especially as this whole denominational milieu happens. So we'll have some things dedicated to that this upcoming winter that are related to rooted. Growing, we also want to be a place where people grow. You don't just come to know Christ and that's it. You come to know Christ and then live into that identity of what it means to be a beloved child of God, what it means to be a Christ follower. So we want to be a community that is encouraging maturity in the faith, that we grow from milk to meat, as Paul says, right? So we want to not only be rooted in those good things, but then growing up into those things and have everybody moving along in the stages of faith and not have somebody be at the same place at age 60 that they were at age 20. But actually be exhibiting greater and greater spiritual maturity. So we want to be growing. And like any good horticultural product, we need to bear fruit. And we need to share that fruit. Sometimes we talk about it like serving the world. Sometimes we talk about being sent in mission. We want to use the word sharing because we're sharing God's grace. If we've truly received it and we're rooted in it and we're growing by God's grace, we should share that grace with others through word and through deed, whether it be through our traditional outreach stuff that we do or through traditional mission stuff and some other things that we want to do this year. But that is the core of who we are as a body, that we're rooted in these things. We're trying to grow into these things, and we're sharing God's grace through word and deed. So that will be part of our theme. You'll see it come up in various sermon series. So I don't want you to read it right now, but there's a sermon series introduction page on the third page inside there that shows what we're going to be looking at for sermons for the upcoming year. First one is going to have, we're just calling it plant-based theology, because part of the reason this is a theme is because it's a theme in the Bible. You know, there's many meta-narratives in the Bible, i.e. themes that cover a large span of texts, not just one particular text. One of them is about light and darkness. One of them is about this horticultural theme that just comes up over and over and over again. So we'll look again at Psalm 1 and what it means to be rooted in those living waters. We'll look at John 15 and what it means to abide, be pruned, and bear fruit. We'll look at the parable of the sower and all the soils that exist. That'll be part of that first series. And then we need to talk about finances a little. That's that second series, offering our all. Again, it follows with that whole idea of sharing. We're offering back to God what God has given to us. In my 3 years here, we haven't really preached about finances or anything like that. We're going to go ahead and preach about it. Why? Because it's one of the most popular themes in the Gospels, money. So we better talk about it. And even though that can be awkward, we're going to try and make it not awkward. We're going to have a whole series around that in November, the first 3 Sundays in November. The last Sunday in November is the beginning of Advent. And we're going to look at these various trees of Advent. And we're going to do something, we're going to have a church-wide devotional project around the Jesse tree, which is a way of tracing the roots of Jesus' story all the way to him being a shoot off the stump of Jesse into the world, and then him being like a grain of wheat that dies so that it can bear more fruit. There's this whole horticultural theme in that, and we'll have a whole devotion that goes with that. And then we'll really dig into each of these separate ones, rooted, growing, and sharing. So rooted in the winter, and again, around all the themes related to the Reformation. The Reformation was all about, hey, you are saved by grace alone, through faith alone, in Christ alone, according to the scriptures alone, for God's glory alone. So those will be some of the subjects of the sermon series, and we'll have classes that will go into what it means to be part of a denomination, and a Reformed denomination in particular, and why we would do that, and how we're going to either end up in the RCA or some other Reformed denomination as we go forward. And then growing. Lent is traditionally a time of engaging disciplines. So we're going to engage some disciplines, and especially some disciplines around pruning, because growing is not always additive, right? Sometimes it's subtractive. We have to get rid of things. We have to shed lies that we've believed. We have to shed disguises that we wear. We have to shed things in order to grow. And so we're going to ask people to engage in a 40-day devotional around Lent. And participate in that, and on the theme of growing. And we're going to come back at that time to the sermons that were all about Genesis 1, 2, and 3, and the human condition, and what's the nature of spiritual formation. Some people were around for that original series back in the winter of 2020 and have requested for it to come back up again, just like today's sermon came back up again. Those sermons are going to come back up again through Lent. So that'll be something. And then April, May, and June, we're going to talk about sharing. We're going to look at those passages of what it means to share our faith, to be a witness, and all that sort of thing. And in conjunction with that, we're going to run the Alpha course, which has been offered before here, but we're going to run it again, and we hope that you'll be a part of it. And being a part of it means being there for the meal with your friends around a table, then watching the presentation and discussing the presentation. It's a great entryway, because some things are more complicated. Sometimes it's hard to enter into certain things around here because they're like next level faith kind of stuff. That's like ground level stuff. So there's a rough overview of all those sermon series. Want to dig into the calendar a little bit more and just make sure you're aware of some things that are happening. So as you know, if you're a woman, there's 3 different opportunities to be part of the Waymaker Series this fall. And there's men's groups run by Rich Rates and Don Clover on Tuesday and Wednesday mornings that I'm sure you could be a part of. I am offering a class called Apologetics in the 21st Century. There's a sheet back on the back table that will explain that to you. That's going to happen on Tuesday evenings. That's just all about what it means to be able to, build bridges between people who don't have the same beliefs but don't realize they have a lot of beliefs that are based on Christian beliefs. They just don't have the Christian roots that are a part of it. So I'd encourage you to check it out. I've got a whole pamphlet here. We're going to read 4 books. And if you don't like to read 4 books in the span of 10 weeks, that's okay. I'm going to have Cliff Notes on all the books, so you can skip a reading and still keep up. And Learning Hour, we're going to have a class on biblical literacy that, believe it or not, will be for beginners and advanced Bible readers. And we'll have a special class during the Offering Our All, which will include the teenagers. So if you're Caden, man, November 6th and November 13th, you're invited to join your dad and mom, Ava, I see you over there, and be part of a class that is going to be thinking about finances and how we steward our finances on behalf of the Lord. And that will be just 2 weeks, because on November the 20th, we're going to prepare for that Jesse Tree devotional and decorate the church in preparation for Advent. So we've got a whole plan coming along for the Learning Hour. This is for adults. We'll get into youth and children in a moment. And we do want to have some special things that include baking in December, because, hey, we're going to do cocoa and caroling on December the 11th. If you look, we did that last year. We went out singing to lots of places. It was very good. And we want to bake some cookies for that, not only so that we can eat them when we gather, but also we can take them places. But we don't want to just bake that. We'd love to have a whole baking thing of bake some communion bread together for a whole season. And we'd love to put together some cinnamon rolls, because we would like to serve them at the end of our birthday party for Jesus. What's our birthday party for Jesus? Well, if you haven't looked ahead in the calendar, December 25th falls on a Sunday this year. And so we're going to have our normal Christmas Eve services at 4 and 5:30 on Christmas Eve. That's Saturday night. And Sunday morning, instead of a traditional service at 9:30, we're going to have a service at 10:30. And it's going to be a birthday party for Jesus. We're going to sing carols. We're going to have a little thing to meditate on, but it's going to be family friendly, around tables, but individual friendly too. So come on out. I want you to hear the invitation. This is for all people that you are invited here on Christmas Day. It's just not going to be normal worship. It's going to be a little bit later, and it's going to be a little different. We're going to sing carols. We're going to think about the nativity story. We're going to praise God for the incarnation, and we're going to have a birthday party for Jesus. Okay? So it'll be different, but it'll be good. So I hope that you'll be a part of that. But we want to make some cinnamon rolls. Oh, it'll be so good. We'll smell the cinnamon rolls, and we'll eat those, and that'll be good. So that's some things happening this fall that are happening during Learning Hour and some of the men's and women's studies. There's some other things that will happen in the winter. Like I said, some things about reformed rootedness and all this sort of thing. Also, painting, poetry, improvisation. We're trying to figure out where we're going to loop that in. You might not know about it yet, but you're probably an improvisational actor, and it will help you in your spiritual walk. You don't know the connection yet, but Linda Hubble would like to help you make the connection between improvisation and your prayer life and your life with God. Correct? Praise the Lord. And Lent, 40-day devotional, April, May, June, the Alpha course. So that's all discipleship-related stuff for adults. And I want to give the mic to Drew Peterson a moment to talk about other stuff that's happening relative to Kingdom Journey.
You can catch your breath now.
Give Drew a hand. What?
You can catch your breath now. Wow. All right.
The fire hose.
The fire hose.
Turn it off. Yeah. Yes.
Flip
Sorry.
that switch for a minute. Okay. Yeah, I want to talk to you about Kingdom Journey for a moment, and some of you are very aware of what that is, and others of you don't really know a whole lot about that. And so I just want to connect some dots for you. Because so much of what this morning's sermon was on was like the Pilgrim 101, the Kingdom Journey 101, the first 22-week class that we offer for that. And so I just want to share a little bit more about what that looks like, because we're all seeking a deeper spirituality, a deeper formation process in which our discipleship really takes some deep roots. And so the Pilgrim is the first stage in our Kingdom Journey. And we have currently 12 participants going through that. They're going to be ending that first week of October. And then the next class that's going to be offered is going to be for the guide. And the guide is essentially teaching you how to disciple others. And that's a 12-week class. And last year, Dr. Phil Ellis, and I taught that class. And it was just a really meaningful time with a couple of other participants who then also became coaches, and some didn't for the Pilgrim. But it's a great class to be able to help you engage your small group in a deeper way, to be able to engage in discipleship with others that you know in a really profound and deep way. And then there's one more element to it that we're still working on. We're still fleshing out, trying to put some more bones and skeletal process in place called the adventure. And for those who have gone through a deep formation process and who are looking to engage in our community in a really profound and deep, impactful way, that's the kind of class that we'd want you to be a part of, because that helps us engage with one another in engaging the world in bringing about God's kingdom here on earth. And so the Pilgrim one, I just want to tell you, is circle back to that one. We're going to be starting that one on April 28th through 30th for the retreat segment. And then it's followed by 22 weeks. So it's a very intense, it's a long class, but it is deeply formational. And so some of the participants that are in it right now, who I'd like to toss under the bus in terms of people who you could talk to, right? They have transformation conversation stories to share with you, which means they want to share about just a powerful way in which God is impacting their life now, and where he's calling them to move into, and how they're making a kind of a big promise to move into that space, even though it means that they're going to move into it in an imperfect way. And so some of the people, like two guys I'm coaching right now, are Steve Anderson and Jonathan Lowe. You are more than welcome to hound them down and ask them about it. I see Kurt Wilson over here, and there's quite a few others in this room as well. And so I would really encourage you to talk to these folks about what it means to engage in transformation in a really deep and powerful way. So overall, we have a lot of people who have gone through the class from years past when it was Faith Walking, how we've adapted it now as Kingdom Journey for those who are currently in it. And so it's my hope, from the discipleship angle, to really engage a large portion of the congregation in this class. So each time that it's offered, I will hound many of you down. I mean it. So anyway, that's an expectation and a threat. So there we go.
Nice. And a lot of times when we hound people down, if we hound them down in, say, March, they're like, oh, I don't know if I have time for that. Well, now you've been warned all the way in September to create calendar space. We want to encourage you to create calendar space. And yeah, if you talk to some of those current participants, they'll let you know. And those people that are coaching them. So there's 12 participants. We're coaching various ones. So Drew's coaching some people. I'm coaching some people. Sarah Peterson, Andrea Poppleton, Tricia Novak, and Randy Burgess. They will tell you it is a holy privilege to walk with people as those people are discovering what the Spirit is up to in their lives. So I'd encourage you to be a part of it so that you can be a guide, so that you can help coach other people and walk with them in their journey. So good. Thank you, Drew. Yes, and now we want to move from adults into youth, even though we don't want to have too much of a silo effect. We want to invite youth into everything, and so that's why a couple weeks ago Ava read the sermon scripture. Ava Lowe, can we give it up for Ava Lowe? She did a great job reading that text. It was the Genesis 3 text, and it was really good, which is also related to Pilgrim, that whole who told you thing. Anyway, so just a few things about youth, and then Sam to come up. So just as far as the calendar is concerned, you might not see it on there. The youth have like their own calendar, but here's two important things to know. They will have learning hour starting next week. That will be pretty normal kind of learning hour experience. High school and middle school will be divvied up. Sam will be in charge of the high school. Nate Branson in charge of the middle school. Is Nate here? Where's Nate at? There he is. Thank you, Nate, for stepping up. They can't make it every Sunday, but they will be a part of that. And then the really important calendar item, another profession of faith class. So we haven't had a profession of faith class since winter, spring 2020. And so that will be coming back in winter, spring 2023. So if your child is one who missed out on that, now's their time to be a part of that. And then, yeah, Sam, what else do you want to fill the people in on, man? Give it up for Sam.
Yeah, so I kind of want to cast a vision, if I can. I do have some things that are on the calendar that I want to address, but first I want you to catch the vision. So think about it this way. A lot of the way we think in maybe Western culture is in church is that, hey, we have church and then we have young people. So we'll have our church thing going on and we're going to bring our young people in and they'll either be a part of service or maybe we'll get them to serve every now and then. I want to get rid of that. I'm trying to get rid of that. What I mean by that is there's not church and there's not young people. There's just church.
Amen.
Okay? So that's what we're trying to do. This is the vision I want you to catch. So in light of that, yes, we're going to have some classes that were up there, learning hour, and we'll have youth group, and we'll have profession of faith. But it's all part of the bigger vision. And so I'm inviting every single one of you in on that. So there's many ways you can do that. Yes, Nate has stepped up, and he's going to be our middle school learning hour teacher, which is amazing. I'll be leading the high school. We have several leaders who will be helping at youth group, and youth group will also be separated. So middle school youth group will be on Sundays, 5 to 6:30, starting the 18th, and then high school starts at 6:30 and goes till 8. And so we have leaders that are leading middle school and high school. And so that's one way, but in general, there's a way that you can all participate. One, I have promised all of the youth that there will be dinner provided every Sunday. And so I know now, you'll see when you go out there that there's tons of food. There's no way we're gonna eat it all. And so I'm asking you to participate by bringing a meal, either for middle school or high school. And so you can come and talk to me or email me or call me and we can get you signed up to do that. It'll be for no more than like 30 kids middle school, 20 kids high school. And then I would invite you to stay and participate, be a part of dinner and the small group discussion. And maybe you have some wisdom that you can give. Another way to participate is when you're here on Sundays, mingle. Let's all mingle together. Let's get to know one another, right? This is church. Let's be a part of this together. Something else that we can do is when we're doing youth ministry, I have asked specific people. Some of them are teachers, some of them are just creative people. I said, hey, here's the curriculum that we're going to be doing. Can I give this to you? Can you look at this? I expect nothing of you. There's no like team meeting. But if you're reading through this and you say, hey, I have something that I think would be really good to like instill into them, or here's a creative project you guys can do. I would love that. I'm inviting you all in on the creative process. I want you to be a part of how we can disciple these young people together. I want us to make this way more intergenerational. There's no separation needed. I'm not in charge of this all by myself. I want us to do this together. So the biggest thing though is food. You want to win over young people, you give them food, even me, food. So if you could just write that down, hey, I can provide food 1 or 2 Sundays this first half of the year. That would be awesome. Come and find me and we'll do that. I think that's pretty much it. Okay?
That's great.
Thank you.
And there's a baby due November the 12th. So that's one of the reasons why during our stewardship series, offering our all, the high school kids will be with adults during the learning hour because Sam won't be there facilitating it. He's going to take a little time off in November. And November 20th, when we do our Jesse treat preparation, he also doesn't need to be there. We're going to have whole family activity that day. So good, babies, and you can provide meals after babies come too. Good pitch for the meal train, which will come up later. We'll get back to the meal train. So next item on the list, younger children. Just wanted to emphasize a couple things that you might notice on the calendar. Next Sunday is designed to be not just a learning hour for young children, but for young children and parents. Andrea wants to lead a devotional tasting. What does that mean? You don't actually eat the books, but there's going to be devotionals around the table where families can take a look at some of the things that exist and sort of peek into them, take a taste and see what they like so that maybe they could have something to do at home. So trying to empower families on what they do at home. Starting September 25th for the elementary age and younger, there will be, learning hour as normal until October 30th, in which those kids who are part of kids choir will begin rehearsals so they can perform on the 11th, which again, something that's already on the calendar. Wouldn't you love to hear the kids sing? Oh, I forgot to say that. After Sam came up, I did want to emphasize, you could have written down, based on what I learned today, I need to contact Sam, his email's in there, right, about food. And likewise, I need to add a date to my calendar, December 11th. Make sure that I'm mindful that the kids choir is going to perform that day. And then there's going to be a special class around the Reformation that will involve families, starting in the new year. And again, kids choir rehearsals and performance on March the 19th. So just a few calendar items to highlight. A few other calendar items to highlight. We want to have a couple community-wide events. This is kind of one of them, so it could be on the list. This is like a beginning of the year launch. It's not a picnic outside, but it's a picnic afterward. October the 30th, we're bringing back Trunk or Treat. So it disappeared for a few years, but we're bringing it back. So you can mark that on your calendar. Add these dates to my calendar. Would you be willing to show up, open up the back of your car, and not only distribute candy, but have some fun theme that goes with it? Some people go over the top. We encourage you to be that person. And the teenagers will not have, the youth group will not have youth group that night because they're encouraged to participate in Trunk or Treat and make it happen. So we want to open up a safe space for people to come, but also be exposed to the goodness of God and the goodness of God's grace. We also want to extend that grace through cocoa and caroling, and then we just want to have a good time together, again, tubing at Mount Holiday. So those are all on the calendar. You can put them on your calendar, okay? Also want to say something about missions. So as we said this past year during Pentecost, which was June the 5th this past year, we said we not only want to have a focus on missions on a particular mission Sunday or a particular missions week, we want to make sure we ratchet up the mission temperature in general. We want to be focused on missions throughout the year. We want to send more people on mission trips. We want to be involved in God's mission around the world. One of the ways that we're emphasizing missions throughout the year is that we're going to have a couple missionary visits. So we had July 10th, we had Yukuv Garong. So we're trying to have one a quarter. So that was July 10th, October 30th, JP Sundararajan. Say that with me, Sundararajan. Sundararajan. He will be here October the 30th. He's the head of RCA Global Mission, also, native from India, and he is a master storyteller. You want to be here when he's here as he shares the stories of God. Paul is often talking about when he's greeting the people in the letters, he's like, Romans in particular, I wish we could be there and share each other's stories so that we could mutually encourage each other's faith. That's like Romans 1:11 or something. That's what JP will do. He will encourage your faith and get you tied into what's happening in global mission. We're still arranging the wintertime speaker, and then we will have Lynn Gann from Mission Partners India here on May 28th, which is also Memorial Day weekend, but it's also Pentecost Sunday, so we're going to have that on. We're trying to have the calendar in order, right? And as you saw this past Wednesday, it was the first of what is going to become a tradition now of having these mission focus emails on the first Wednesday of every month and highlight a different missionary as we go so that we can all be kept abreast of what's happening in these different missionaries' lives that we support. So this past week it was New City Kids, so hopefully you read that email. If you didn't, Alex Goldsmith was a product of our youth group. He runs New City Kids in Detroit. They're doing some things in Grand Rapids. He had a training up here, and he used the intersection, and we helped provide meals for him. So we provided a space and food for him and tried to make it a hospitable environment for him and his team. And so we had a little focus on that, on New City Kids and what they're doing this past Wednesday. But if you look at the first Wednesday of the month, in coming months, you'll see more mission focus emails. So just another calendar item. And speaking of calendar items, you notice we already have our Safe Harbor weeks on there, and we've invited Rhonda to come up and speak on behalf of Safe Harbor. Give it up for Rhonda. Oh, you even got some whoops.
Do you think I'm
That
going
must
to
have
read
been
this?
yes.
Okay. I'm afraid I'm going to crack the walls with this microphone. But anyway, Safe Harbor is a community effort to get the homeless out of the cold and to provide a hot meal and a warm, safe place to sleep. There is strong support from many local churches and many non-church organizations, each covering a week or two through the season. Any open slots through the season are open to volunteers from all churches and groups as well, so you don't have to just stick to the Faith Reform Weeks. This is a way to provide life-sustaining aid to desperate people, a place where someone that has a job but can't afford housing can get a shower and wash their clothes and be ready for work the next day. Others have serious issues and are just trying to survive. It's not a place to push your faith, it's a place to care and show love to those in serious life-threatening need. But as the song says, they will know we are Christians by our love. Mm-hmm. There are paid staff members on hand to guide you and to deal with any concerns that the guests may have. We're just there to assist. We will have a lot of new positions this year where volunteers can serve as individuals in positions out mingling with the guests or as a team member in the kitchen, somewhat isolated from the guest, preparing the hot meal of your choice for them. In the past, we have had small groups, families with their kids, or groups of 5 or 6 friends in the kitchen. If volunteering in the evening isn't for you, we got you covered. We're going to be open all day Saturday and Sunday this year. So there will be lots of daytime volunteer opportunities as well. We at Faith have committed to 2 weeks of service, December 3rd through 9th and February 18th through the 24th. Specific information and simple, really good orientation videos are available online at the Safe Harbor website, as well as a sign-up calendar for volunteering. Go to gtsafeharbor.org. This is a great opportunity to serve our community in a safe environment. Any questions, you can talk with me, Randy Burgess, or Jennifer Byland. Thank you.
Good job, Rhonda. So yes, you are encouraged to participate. As we found out last year, children 12 and up can participate with a responsible adult. So not Drew Peterson, but they can participate with other people. Wow, not a whole lot of laughter on that. So, find another family, volunteer with them, do it with your small group, be prepared to sign up for one of the dinner nights, and as always, the information for Rhonda is on this page. Her email address is there, and you know what she looks like, and you can add it to the back of your list, right? Based on what I learned from Rhonda today, I need to contact Rhonda. Okay? And we can get involved with the other things. I want to give a shout out right now, even to Carrie Wafter. Carrie, can you raise your hand? I know you don't want to shout out. But they often don't have churches assigned for the week of Christmas. And so there's even opportunities once you're registered in their volunteer system, your email is associated, they will send you emails and they will say, hey, look, we have openings and you can even serve on Christmas Day, right, Carrie? And so was this past Christmas or the Christmas? Yeah. The Christmas before, they served dinner over there on Christmas Day because people still need to eat on that day too. So keep that in mind. You can serve meals, interact with the guests, and you can talk to Rhonda Randy or Jennifer Byland if you want a connection. Sorry, Fire Hose is going to keep going. Other things you will note on the calendar are all the dates for Young at Heart. So there's no Young at Heart in October or December or February, March, one of those days. April. But there are in those other times. There's all sorts of men's ministry events, which a lot of people in the men's ministry know about. There's IF gathering events, including the big IF gathering on March 3 and 4. That's all in there. There's all sorts of stuff communicated right in there. And speaking of communication, that's the next spotlight we want to have. So I want to invite Cheyenne Fowler to come on up because she's going to talk a little bit about communication. Yes.
Okay, by a show of hands, who has a smartphone? iPhone, Android? Okay, so again, by a show of hands, how many of you have the Church Directory Planning Center? Okay, so all of you that raise your hand at the smartphone that do not have the directory or planning center on your phone, I encourage you to get it. Please, I'm begging you. So we have a few slides just to show you kind of what it looks like and give you a rundown. We have our wonderful home screen. You'll be able to see information, our email, our church phone number, office hours, put in a prayer request. Our next one, the biggest thing I want to mention, is the directory. You can see all the church members. You can see their phone number, their address, what they look like, their household, birthdays, whatever you want to put in there for your profile. But the key thing that we need is a photo of you. There's so many households with the same last name. Andersons, Asias.
No, right here we've got cooks and which cook. We can't
I don't
tell
know which ones they are.
Yeah.
So we need your picture, please. If you need help with this, come and see me. I have a few slides on the next page to show you kind of what that would look like if you want to go through the motions on the app. Come and find me at the potluck. I'll help you upload a photo of you or your family. Yeah.
Yep. Talk about this one too.
Yeah. You can, okay, so the app is a great place. How many of you are in groups or ministries? How many of you volunteer here at FRC? I hope everybody. So this is another great place where you'll be able to see calendar events. You'll be able to get messages from your ministries and all of the places that you volunteer. You'll be able to talk with your leaders. You'll be able to talk with other members of the ministry or the group that you're in, and see all of the information.
Yeah. Nice. So
it's called Planning Center or Church Center.
Church Center.
Church Center, yep.
Church Center, when you log in there, it will ask, what church are you searching for? You search for Faith Reformed Church, Traverse City, and it will bring it up. Then, as long as your mobile phone number is in our directory on the back end, in our database, it will say, hey, enter your phone number, and as long as it's in there, then it will ask you some questions, and it will bring up you. Only people who have phone numbers in our directory can gain access to this. So when you see said, hey, all your information's on here, don't be scared. The only people who can access it are the other people who have access to the directory. So that's the key. What's that? Your mobile phone number.
Yeah, your mobile phone, not your home phone number.
So if you don't have a smartphone, it's a little harder to get a part of it, but we're figuring all that out. But yes, we would love to update your pictures because you can look at it. I want you to notice this little thing up here. Some people don't know about this. When you click on the directory, which is in the lower right-hand corner of the app, it'll bring up a page that will either show you by individual or by household. Right now, this is on the household mode. You can also put it in individual mode. But then you can search at the top of the bar and you can say, hey, I really want Linda C. Chalky's number because I want to volunteer at Young at Heart, and Linda is in charge of it with Cheyenne, and I want to be a part of it, so I want to find Linda's information. I could either search up here, or I could scroll down, and there's Linda's picture, which is beautiful, which would be harder if I'm like, here's Don and Nancy Clover household. We need a picture for you guys. And Dawn and Sue Collins, I'm not trying to shame people, just happens to be the one that's up there. If I had a different part of the alphabet, it would be, we want your pictures to be in there. And especially this is helpful for new people. New people who are part of our congregation, they get in there and they want to know, they want to be reminded, I saw that person, I learned their name, but now I forgot it. But if they go through here and see a picture, right? So this makes it, yes, John and Nancy Morris say, it makes it much more hospitable space so that we can truly be a church family. So that's just a couple things to emphasize. All that makes, okay? Yeah. Stephanie has a thought, question.
How do you know if someone in your group is trying to send you a message?
Oh, yes, good point.
The notification. So if you see the little bell up at the top, right there, it will have a red bubble on it. Not like the one that I circled, but just a little dot. Or a notification should pop up on your home screen of your phone and tell you, Sue Anderson sent you a message. Drew Poppleton sent you a message. And you should be able to click on that and see whatever group you're in, the messages that get sent to you.
And like any other app on your phone, you can control how many notifications it sends you to your, how many notifications it pushes to you. So it might push it directly to your screen, like I've got some emails here that it's showing me, or it might just put a little bubble next to that app so you can see, I have a message, Or you go in here and you'll see that there's a little red dot by your bell, which will say notifications. What kind of notifications could you get? This is the ones I've gotten recently on the right side. What are they? You can see like that third one, Lynn Gann, confirmed for, and then the rest of that sentence says, May 28th. It's a message to the missions team that Lynn Gann is confirmed for that day. Missions team is one of many teams that takes good advantage of this, of the app in order to communicate with one another. And there's a couple other things up there, but you can also see the groups that I'm a part of on the left, which highlights one of the groups is communion servers. If you get in here, you can sign up and be a part of communion servers. Then when elders are looking for people to serve up here, they'll see your name in there. There's 34 names in there right now, but there could be a whole lot more because anybody who's an active, confessing member of our church can serve communion up front. They can't necessarily officiate at the table like I do, but they can serve around the church, okay? So you could be part of. So we're going to keep moving. Question? No.
Nope. I also wanted to mention, we don't have it on the slides, but I encourage you to get on Facebook, or if you're already on Facebook and have, friends, to like the FRC Church page. It's here that I post a lot of pictures from volunteer opportunities, updates, announcements, really important stuff. And it's just fun to see what we're up to during the week or weekend here at church. So.
Good. Mm-hmm. One last note about this. If you do want to update your photo, up in that upper right-hand corner, you can see my photo. If you don't have a photo on there, it will have a different little icon. But if you click on that, it will bring up this screen of your account screen. And at the top, first of all, you can hit update photo. Yeah, you can eventually get to the update photo and then just choose a photo from your cell phone. Okay? She can help you with that. We're going to keep moving. So speaking of all those teams that you can get access to on the app, hopefully you know there are all these sorts of teams that exist, teams that are active on Sunday morning, teams that are active at other times of the week, and of course, sometimes one that gets lost in the mix of teams but does a whole lot of work, elders and deacons, who also are part of a denominational discernment team that we're working on, and the personnel team, which helps handle all sorts of personnel matters, the personnel team includes the executive team, which are the officers of classis, which is Mark Byland and Rick Vanderhagen, Sandy Lowe and Mike Novak. Okay, and myself and Drew Peterson, and then 2 at-large members, which right now is Laverna Whitkop and Jenny Dykstra. So many thanks to them, many thanks to elders and deacons, many thanks to people who are on these ministries. Okay, but there are also some smaller, less visible things that we want you to know about. So did you know about these is the question. For instance, the design team, and Stephanie's going to talk a little bit about that. You want this too? Can you use it? Hell no.
So design team. Did you know that we put decorations around the church? You probably did know that. I'm just going to let Drew kind of scroll through these in no particular order. I won't really address the slides, but I threw together some so you could see some of the designs that we've done over the past year. It might ring a bell for you. And what I wanted to point out is that some of them have featured some artists within our congregation, like Mike Novak and Michelle Boudet and Jackie Dillinger, and sometimes some real creative thinking on the parts of people like Donna DeBoer and Kathy Spencer and Trisha Novak, Liz Ledke, et cetera, et cetera. But each design that we come up with kind of involves a similar process, and that's what I wanted to share with you, that we usually start with a brainstorming of ideas. We research what's doable within the time frame that we have and the budget constraints that we have. Then it takes time to shop and source for materials, such as artificial turf from Menards. And it takes time to build or create elements, like when you order things online and the color is really atrocious, you find spray paint in the children's closet downstairs and you go spray paint your body green. And then you finally get to put the things on display. And there are plenty of opportunities for you to help out in any of those parts of the process. For me, I love the process because it's creative, and each design that we come up with is really different, and it's always, we hope, based on the sermon series or a theme that we are, or a season that we are in. And my hope and prayer is that as we put things around this sanctuary space and around the building, that it ultimately helps our worship experience, that it doesn't detract from or hinder from, but maybe it just sets a nice backdrop for us to really engage with the Lord, even when we enter the building. And we can't always do everything that we dream up, but we try to do our best to honor the Lord with the resources that we have. So if that's something that I don't know, kind of piques your interest, would love to talk to you about it. Thanks.
Nice. So you should have noticed a little bit today even, right? Because for the last 6 months, we've had questions all over the walls, and those questions are now gone, and the walls feel naked. And so what does it look like to put something else up and do all that sort of thing? Another thing that's coming up, Andrea is taking care of kids right now, but wanted to mention that she's starting a visitation team. She's already talked to a number of you. Some of you already visit people on a regular basis. She's just wanting to make it a little bit more formal and welcome anybody else who wants to be a part of it, so that we can visit many people who cannot be here on a Sunday morning. And so there is a significant contingent of them, somewhere in the neighborhood of 25 or 30. So you could be a part of the group of people that goes out and visits people. Some people who are kind of permanently on a homebound kind of list, but some people who temporarily end up on it. And you could be part of the visitation team and show the love of Christ by showing up at people's houses and hanging out with them. But other things, did you know about Monday Morning Crew? Yeah, John. Yeah, this is a good group. Jonathan was going to speak. He's not around. Monday morning, there's a crew of people, guys, tend to be retired guys, who clean up every Monday morning because it's a complicated task, especially once we're using both buildings, just like we will next week, and we're using all the bathrooms downstairs and all the bathrooms in the other building. Jonathan could take a long time to clean things up, but that crew helps clean up this sanctuary and beyond. And so if you can be a part of that, that'd be great, and especially as we get into the leaner winter months when some people are gone for the winter, that'd be a great crew to be a part of to help clean up on Monday mornings. There's the coffee crew. Diane Wallman is in charge of making sure we have coffee and some kind of morsels to eat on a Sunday morning. Communion servers you can be a part of. Community meals. There's always, every Thursday night we're providing meals. This past it was like 2 or 3 Thursdays ago, we provided 81 meals or something like that. Things, there's still spaces and opportunities to be a part of that. You could contact Trudy or Rick. There's the Faith Foundation, which, if you don't know about it, is a fund that exists to fund Christian education, whether at the grade school or college level, and there's access to that sort of thing. You could be a part of the group that helps facilitate the giving of that money, or you could access that money if you're sending your kids to Christian school. So talk to Drew Peterson about that. There's the Caring Card Ministry, which Andrea started, and there's like 10 or 12 people that are part of that. If you don't know, we have people who send cards to not only the people who end up on the prayer list, but we send cards to our local and international, we send cards to our local missionaries that we sponsor. Internationally, we send emails and stuff to them. We send cards through, there's actually a partnership that we have with Single Mom to send cards out to moms on their birthdays. There's cards that go out to the people who are on our homebound list. There's cards that go out all over the place. If you want to be a part of that team, you can talk to Andrea. Coming back to Young at Heart, see, Linda, yes. Cheyenne and Linda help get the Young at Heart going. It doesn't happen every month, but it happens a lot of months, and you could be a part of the teams that help put that on. Funeral luncheon teams. Sue and Penny have traditionally been in charge of that, but there's a rumor that they wouldn't mind having some help. Is that a true rumor? Always. And so if you want to be a part of that, that is an excellent ministry to the grieving families who, hey, they don't want to have to take care of that, but food helps facilitate the grieving process afterward, right? It is a great ministry, so you could be a part of that. Meal Train, Cherie Cook is a part of that, and it tends to be facilitated through the app at this point. And so hopefully you can join the app, because if something comes up, whether it's the having of a baby or some major surgery or something else that's happening for some family, we provide meals. You could be a part of that. Bundles of Love happens every winter. And during COVID time, Julie, or Tukey Vanderhagen, if you don't know her as such, I think I was supposed to put a / Julie in there. Sorry, Took. Tukey, during the pandemic, had a little less people to assemble those things, but you could be a part of assembling them or getting the supplies for them. So Bundles of Love, you could see Julie and be a part of that. And then Grief Share. Grief Share is just finishing up this round. Barb Bloom runs that each time, and what an amazing ministry. If you want to talk to somebody about that, you could talk to Edna Stevens or Barb Hutchins, who are part of it right now. And Kelly Nelson is helping her facilitate that this time around, but you could help facilitate it too. So did you know? Those are sometimes lesser known things that you could be a part of. But again, you could write it down based on what I learned today. I need to contact. Okay. And I want you to look out for these in the 2023 coming up. So, right, we'll come back around to another VBS. As I said, we're going to need a team of people to help run the Alpha course, and we're looking for people to be part of a 75th anniversary team. We are serious about being rooted in a group of people that came before us who are a part of this church. Not only rooted in a location, but rooted in a body of people. And there's a history around here that we want to be able to capture and celebrate. And so if you want to be a part of that, I encourage you to be a part of that. I've been already doing some work on that, because I've been trying to find out more information about the stained glass that's here, and it was really fun to pursue some of that even this past week, because the lady who created this, Margaret Kavanaugh, I found out so much information about Margaret Kavanaugh, who did this stained glass in 1990, this stained glass in 1991, and she did similar stained glass in other places that looks similar to this, so it's kind of fun. And what all is this symbolize? I wanted to find out more about that, if we could tell the story of it, because if you sit way back there, you can't even see the ones here, but if you sit right here, you get, it's prime spots up here, then you can see what's happening. But it's basically a triptych representing the triune God, because this is about God the Creator. There's this hand coming down. There's the sun and the moon and the earth and waters and earth and all the way down to the Grand Traverse region. The lower right-hand corner is a cherry tree, right? So it represents all these things about God the Creator. And then this is Christ, right? And Christ is the light of the world, and that's the centerpiece of the whole thing, that he's the light of the world, and everything revolves around the light of the world, including the little lights, because he says, I am the light of the world, and he says, you are the light of the world, and so those little light pricks are you and me. And then over here is supposed to represent the Holy Spirit, both in wind and in fire. That's why it's blue and it's red, and it's just sort of going all over the place, and you can't tell where it's going. So there's this whole history associated with it, and it's kind of fun to dig into what this Margaret Kavanaugh, the other sort of projects that she did and what she wanted to represent and what she wanted to do. And so you could be a person who helps capture that so that we can put that on little plaques. And she also did the one at the stairs as you head out, and then somebody else did the one at the top of the stairs when you come in. But we want to capture some of that history and capture some of what's going on and celebrate the 75th anniversary, which will be happening during the next ministry year. So you can be on the lookout for being a part of that. Okay. Wow. I think, see? So, everybody welcome Jay. Recently turned 60.
Yeah, don't I wish. Is it on? Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you all for allowing me to give you a few minutes about the security ministry. We have two programs in the ministry. One is the security team. We welcome new members. You don't have to be armed to be on the team, but we will train you on a few things. And what you learn will also be very valuable for you, either at your home or your business too. The second ministry, part of the ministry, is what we call Angel Eyes, and that is a team of ladies right now. Men are welcome too. They monitor our video system. In case you don't know, there's 16 cameras in this section, or in this building, and 12 over there. So anytime you're in this building, you're being filmed at the same time. So behave yourselves. But they monitor that, and they also let us know if there's any problems or opportunities for us to take advantage of. And we're not just here to protect, be sheepdogs, but we're also here to help with medical or any weather problems or anything else, fire and so forth. And I'd be happy to answer any questions afterwards, and I thank you for your time.